Hi everyone and welcome. This is an online version of the presentation we usually do at orientation for Westside students. You now have the pleasure of viewing this extremely exciting presentation from anywhere. Okay, well maybe it isn't very exciting, but it is important. I created most of these slides myself after hearing the most frequently asked questions from new transfer students. I tried to make everything you need to know, hopefully without any surprises to come later on. As transfer students, you already have a bit of college, and most of you are coming from the community college, but you may or may not have used financial aid there. Either way, you're in to learn a whole new system. I tried to specifically emphasize the ways we differ from the community college and point out what information I would have found most valuable when I was transferring from the community college to CWU Linwood. My name is Karen, I'm based out of Des Moines, and I'm a Wildcat. I would rather give you too much information over too little. So grab some paper, write down your questions as we go, and at the end, you will see how to make an appointment with us so we can go over your questions and any feedback you have on this presentation. All right, the office, mission statement for financial aid, and contact information for the Westside. It also has the main campus in Ellensburg in case you need immediate assistance and can't get a hold of us. Hopefully this website looks familiar to everyone. If you haven't filed your FAFSA already, please do so. The one for spring and summer is out now. It's the 2015-16. And for next year, the 2016-17 FAFSA came out in January, and our priority deadline is March 15th for next school year. Again, do both of them as soon as you can if you haven't already, and make sure that you're visiting FAFSA.gov and not FAFSA.com. Our school code will always pop up as Ellensburg, but that'll be for any CW center. We all have access to the same FAFSAs. Next year, the FAFSA will be coming out in October, so keep an eye on your email for more details on how that's going to work. Part 1. Every school has their own procedures when it comes to financial aid, and these are ours. I'm going to show you around your My CWU account and how we do things the Wildcat way. What's the process? You filed your FAFSA, now what? Here's how we will process your financial aid. 1. The process starts once you are accepted to the school. You don't need to be accepted into your major yet, and we will use the social security number you indicated on your admissions application. We will match the two applications and process your FAFSA. If you skipped adding your social security number on your admissions application, you will never be processed until you contact admissions to have it added. Usually within a week, we will screen your FAFSA for your eligibility and request any paperwork if needed. That's the timeline during the year. FAFSAs we're getting for next school year don't follow that kind of timeline. It may be we don't start processing FAFSAs for next school year until probably March. Some students won't be asked for any items, other students multiple items. Commonly asked for paperwork is income verification or proof of citizenship. These items are visible on your to-do list, which we'll look at in a moment. Once all your paperwork is complete, you will be ready for an award letter. It will have your eligibility on it, what types of financial aid, and it will have instructions for accepting or declining. At CWU, we tell you your max eligibility for the school year, and you tell us how much of it you want. If you accept loans, you'll do item 5, complete your loan documents. Entrance counseling and a master promissory note are required for loans. If you've done loan documents at other schools, sometimes we can use those. So if we need it, we'll post it to your to-do list once you've accepted it. And lastly, finalize your enrollment by add drop so you can receive the correct amount of financial aid and on time. Let's check out your My CWU to show you around. You'll have access to this as soon as you're admitted to CWU. If you need help logging in, you can call the help desk at 509-963-2001. This tab is called My Page. While you can access certain things directly from here, like your financial aid toolbox, your student outlook, which is your student email, in the middle of the screen, you'll see the Student Center. I like going here because you can see items from multiple departments. Once you click on Student Center, you'll see this page. We'll start up in the corner with holds. Holds are usually when student accounts or your advisor will put a hold on your account to keep you from registering. You may see some that are also just informational. If you owe a large balance or need to meet with your advisor, you will not be able to register for classes until this is complete. Click on the hold to see who put it there, their contact information, and what it's holding you from. Right below holds is the to-do list. This student has multiple items on there. When you click on an item, it will show you more information, including who is asking for it, if they have just initiated it, or if they have received it as well. It usually disappears once it has been completely processed. You can click on each of the items for more directions. So when we click on it for more directions, you'll see that there's just a little bit more information about where to go for these items. In this situation, it gives you a phone number, description, and a website. If you still have questions at this point, just let us know. Back to your Student Center. On the left, the account inquiry shows your future and current charges. We don't officially charge you for classes until add drop. After you've registered, you will see charges under future due. These are what your charges will be if you stay enrolled in classes. You may also receive bills before the quarter starts. These are the same way. It's a forecast of your charges. On add drop, we make them official and switch them over to due now. You will start seeing these charges as due and receive statements in the mail, even if you're covering these with financial aid. Sometimes you see an amount in pending financial aid, and that will show you if you have money ready to pay those charges. A negative number would mean you have more financial aid than charges. But pending aid will show up right before the quarter starts only if your paperwork's complete and you've accepted your aid. You won't see pending aid, usually your first quarter, or if you're less than full-time. Okay, under View Financial Aid, we have a lot going on here. At the very bottom, you'll see a list of all the email communications we've ever sent this student. Missing information letters, well, we saw items on his to-do list, and that's us reminding him to do them. There's also copies of your award letters in here. At the very top, you'll see your financial aid status. You'll see each year you have applied and whether or not we've received your FAFSA. New students, we still must have your social security number on your admissions application, and you need to accept your admissions before that appears as yes. For the 2012 year, they pushed back their start date, so it canceled their 2012 app since they wouldn't be attending. So that's very normal if you're not attending for that school year. In 2013 and 2014, they had their documents turned in, and we packaged them with an award letter. It will always remind you to accept your financial aid, even if you already have. In 2015, they had those missing documents we saw on their to-do list, so we haven't created their award letter yet. For other years, he can still click on that year to see what kind of aid was offered and what he had accepted. Once he gets its items in and we get him an award letter, he can click on that 2015 to see his award letter for this current year and accept or decline financial aid. Below that is the information on Satisfactory Academic Progress, SAP, where you track eligibility for financial aid, but we'll talk more about this later. Back to your CWU login, switching over to the Student tab. This is the student dashboard. It has most of the same items we just saw in the Student Center, but some find it easier to navigate through. You can see some of the same things as before, like your holds, your to-do list, and your schedule. And then under the Financial Aid tab, you can easily use this area to make payments, view your account, and more. This is where you complete the CWU scholarship application, October through February. You'll see options to enroll in a payment plan right here as well. This is very similar to the STEP program that many community colleges offer. You can enroll to have your balance, or remaining balance after financial aid pays their portion, split into thirds. The payments are due on the 15th of each month, and it costs $50 to enroll. This is due while you are signing up. It is not available in summer because that quarter is too short. The most important thing is that you can only enroll in the payment plan 5 days after add drop. Pay attention to add drop. You've heard me mention it before, and it's extremely important that you review everything prior to this time. Why? We charge you for everything on this day at 5 o'clock p.m., and we check your credit load. Your financial aid is always displayed for full-time attendance, but if you're not enrolled full-time on AdDrop at 5 p.m., we may need to adjust your financial aid for less than full-time. Make sure you aren't on the wait list or forgot to put a class only in your shopping cart. You are responsible for knowing this date every quarter. It's usually the 5th day of classes, except in summer when it's the 3rd. The nice part is that you don't have to notify us each quarter of your intended credit load. We will find it automatically and adjust your financial aid over the next couple days after AdDrop if you are not full-time. Undergraduates need to be in 6 credits for loans, and all gift aid, meaning money you don't pay back, is adjusted based on your credit load. Grants especially cannot be changed or adjusted if you enroll late, no matter what. Here's the basic chart showing how aid is adjusted for less than full-time. Based on your credit load, federal and state grants are as follows. Full-time is 12 or more credits, you get 100% of your grants. 3/4 time is 9 to 11 credits, you get 75% of your grants. Half-time, 6 to 8 credits, you get half of your grants, and 3 to 5 credits is 25%. There are no grants given for 1 or 2 credits, and they are reduced based on your credit load again on the AdDrop deadline. Remember that to receive loans, you must be in 6 credits for undergraduates and 5 credits for graduate students. Your loans are not reduced unless you ask us to, usually. Since there is no grant money for grads or postbacks, you just need to remember to stay half-time or above for loans. For grad students, we mentioned 5 credits as the minimum, but those 5 credits usually need to be a 500 level or above. If they're not, it does need to be pre-approved for you to use loans. Below half-time, you are not eligible for student loans, and in some cases, such as your repayment clock, it's not counting you as a student who is currently attending. Let us know if you have questions on being a less than half-time student. Again, you do not have to notify us, but we will go through and remove your loans for the quarter if you're not attending half-time. Institutional aid. Some aid is adjusted, some aid isn't. Some is prorated, some isn't. Most of it is removed if you are not at least half-time. Remember, grant money is only available to those who qualify, and tuition is the same for 10 to 18 credits, regardless of this chart. Refunds. We will take your financial aid money and pay off your balance after AdDrop, and we will return the rest to you if there is extra. You can sign up for a direct deposit through student accounts, but our default method is sending a check to your preferred mailing address. This can be viewed and changed in your student center. These refunds can be used to pay for educational or living expenses only. If you would like to return or reduce your refund check, please send it back with a note explaining exactly what you'd like to do and that you want to cancel that portion of your loan. Do this as soon as possible because we can't do it after the quarter ends. You can use that check to repay a portion of your loans if it's after the quarter ends. Again, we will only do this after tuition, fees, and other charges are paid in full. Occasionally, if you were to add on another class late, you would get charged for that. It's possible you'd get charged for that class, or if you bought a book late, these could be posted to your account after we send your refund. So make sure you're always checking your balance on my CWU to make sure that your refund you get has paid everything. It's your responsibility to double check your balance went down to 0 before using your refund. We do not send checks out until the 2nd to 3rd week of the quarter, so please plan accordingly. It is rare, but maybe 1% of refunds are delayed slightly further due to normal processing times. We are doing our best, but please be sure that you know these are not guaranteed arrival dates. There is no way to pick up your refund either. It's either direct deposit or mailed to your preferred mailing address. All right, part 2. Every school has to create their own rules for students receiving financial aid. It's called an SAP policy, Satisfactory Academic Progress. Basically, this is now that you have your financial aid, let's make sure you keep it. We're going to go over the different parts of the policy and break it down based on what type of financial aid you're receiving. Please note that you're responsible for reviewing the entire policy and not just what we're going to go over now. If you already have your award letter, you can follow along. This is the federal policy. You'll follow this for Pell Grants, SEOG Grant, Federal Work Study, and Federal Direct Loans, including Parent Plus loans. You must be completing at least 66.7% of your classes, keep at least a 2.0 CWU GPA, stay off academic suspension, and stay below 270 attempted credits, and that's about 6 years worth. Your CWU GPA is only using CWU classes. We do not count transfer credits when calculating it. Post-bac students also need to stay at the 2.0 minimum GPA and need to stay below 135 attempted credits. There are many types of institutional aid. The most common is the tuition waiver, CWU grant, transfer scholarship, and WUI, or Western Undergraduate Exchange. They require that you are not academically suspended, and the transfer scholarship and WUI also check your GPA each quarter. WUI is cut off after 225 attempted credits, and there are additional restrictions for WUI, and they can be found on our website. This is the state policy. You'll follow this for Washington State Need Grant, College Bound, State Work Study, other state scholarships like WAVE and Achievers. You must be completing most of your classes, keep at least a 2.0 GPA, and stay off academic suspension. You'll need to stay below 225 attempted credits, or about 5 years worth. They also have the restriction of staying below 15 quarters of aid received. An easier way to see if you'll be on state warning or suspension is the chart that's located in our SAP policy on our website. Here you can easily see, based on how many credits you attempt, you can go over to see how many you'll finish and use that to decide if you'll be on warning or state suspension. Feel free to refer to this if you're thinking that you're not going to pass a class or if you're considering dropping a class. For graduate students, you need to also complete 66.7% of your credits, keep a 3.0 GPA, your max time frame is 135 attempted credits, and you also need to stay off academic suspension. Now you can check to see how you're doing. Remember this from your Student Center. It's under View Financial Aid, and now's the time to use it. Check your progress to see your CWU GPA or your total attempted credits to see if you're approaching that max time frame. You can see this student's attempted credits are 162. If you were a graduate student, he'd be well past it. But since he's an undergraduate, he still has a little while before he'll hit that state need grant max time frame, and then quite a bit longer before he'll reach the federal max time frame. Note that this student will likely receive a letter that he'll hit the state need grant max time frame, even if he doesn't use state need grant. We just have to let everyone know where they're at. This is not often available during your first quarter at CWU. It does take at least one quarter for us to generate this information. What happens if you don't make SAP? So option 1, you must pay for the next quarter on your own, taking your usual number of credits, or using a private loan. There's more information on private loans on our website. Basically, those are using a bank student loan instead of the ones that we facilitate through our office. You must pass those classes and now be meeting SAP. An example is if your GPA was below the required 2.0 as a junior or senior, and even if you pay for one quarter on your own, you still cannot come back on financial aid until you're also meeting that GPA requirement. So for some students in those situations, it could take multiple quarters to get back up to the minimum requirements. Once they are meeting it, they also need to let us know so we can reinstate your aid. Usually this requires just filing the petition, but you don't have to do as much of the paperwork. It'll say that you've now regained eligibility and that we can now reinstate your aid. Option 2 is to send us a petition by the 30th day of the quarter. Explain why you didn't meet the SAP, it was due to outside circumstances, and include supporting documents. If you're approved, your aid will be reinstated, and you must meet the conditions outlined in the approval. But if you're denied, you must refer to option 1. The appeal process for SAP. The petition is often mailed out after grades are posted when students are suspended or placed on warning. It is also available online. It is due the 30th day of the quarter, usually the following quarter, but could also be the quarter that you return to school if you took a break. It is highly recommended that you turn in the petition as soon as possible so you can find out if you're approved or denied. Remember, you get charged for the quarter on add drop, but you will still be responsible for these charges even if your appeal is denied. So if you don't submit your petition until the 30th day of the quarter, I'm going to assume you're already in classes and you're being charged for them, and you're going to need a backup plan in case your appeal is denied. Your petition will include a statement describing the reason for not meeting SAP, include dates, documentation supporting your statement, and a documented resolution. The most common example is if there were medical reasons that you could not do well in your classes, and that was the reason you did not meet your SAP. You would include medical documents that match the dates of when you were not doing well, and as well as a doctor's note as to verifying that you are okay to come back to school. This is because we don't approve these for the same reason over and over again. If you have an issue going on in your life that's keeping you from doing well, we don't want you to come back until you're ready. Check your CWU email just in case we request clarification or additional documents. Probationary status. If your appeal is approved, we may give you some additional requirements to regain full eligibility. This may mean we're giving you conditions. They may outline an approval, but with the condition of a certain GPA, certain, maybe even specific grades, and you must follow these or you will be suspended again. You may receive a notice that you are not eligible for a type of aid, even if you are not receiving any. An example, again, is that students that are not receiving state aid often still get letters letting them know that they are on warning or suspension for state aid. If you aren't planning on using any state aid, you don't need to do anything. The only time you would do so is if you're trying to use state aid in the future. You may need to petition so that you'd be eligible for it when we're ready to award it to you. Part 3, tips for success. Okay, now for a little bit of everything to finish up. Tips for success. File your FAFSA early. The priority deadline is March 15th, and that is to receive priority funding. Even if you don't usually qualify for state or federal grants, these folks might end up with more institutional aid, but at the very least, they get their award letters faster. File your taxes early. The other stipulation to receiving priority funding is to have any requested paperwork in by May 15th. If we're asking you for your taxes by May 15th, but you didn't file until April 15th, you almost definitely will not get a verified copy back to us in time. If you don't think you're going to make your filing deadline, be sure to file an extension, because sometimes we can use that to hold your date for not missing the priority deadline. But again, that's only if you filed an extension and can provide a copy to us. We will then maybe extend your deadline so that we can get your taxes once they're processed. Processing time can be up to 4 weeks, and it's a minimum of 4 weeks at peak periods. Most people turn in paperwork at the same time. This is the reason for this. So we do our best, but it can take a while to get caught up. If you don't turn in paperwork until September, you cannot expect to even know what your financial aid eligibility could be until after school starts. The beginning of each quarter is always hectic, so if you have questions or need your aids adjusted, tell us as early as you know. Even a week or two before the quarter starts is better. We will only contact you at your CW email. It is your responsibility to check it, forward it to your main email if necessary, and then you only need to log in when you reply. You will also have a Canvas email if your class has online components. This is a different email and you need to be checking both. Please include your student ID number and full name when sending us emails. If you set it up as a signature in your email, then you won't have to worry about it. Your mailing address is also in your MyCW and needs to be kept up to date. Read the conditions of award. It comes in your award letter. Make sure that you have read it over so that you know what you're agreeing to when you accept financial aid. Check your balance on your MyCWU account. Every once in a while, just pop in there to double check that it's at zero. Come talk to us, especially before you spend your refund. Just double check that your balance got paid correctly and return one of your charges or book wasn't billed late. The SAP policy will explain how if there are any issues, you don't want to get late fees or have it keep you from registering. And the return of funds policy will explain if you drop all of your classes, well, some of your financial aid on top of it, it'll give us plenty of time to figure out if there was any issues. The government is giving you the financial aid in advance and is assuming that you will complete the quarter. If you don't complete the quarter, we may need to prorate the amount of money that needs to be paid back, and it will be up to you to return it. In these situations, the registrar calculate your charges, we calculate if anything needs to be returned to the government, and these are not done until after you drop. We may not be able to give you accurate estimates before you drop. In most cases, the students will owe a balance back to the school or government or both. You cannot receive any new financial aid at any school until any owed to the government is repaid. When dropping some of your classes, we won't likely be adjusting your current aid or charges, but it can greatly change or make you no longer eligible for financial aid in the future. The SAP policy we covered will let you know what GPA you must be maintaining based on your grade level, what percentage of classes you must complete based on the type of aid you receive. State grants can be lost for the entire year with one bad quarter. Be sure that you watch the SAP tutorial for more detailed information. Are you thinking about a withdrawal? Please review the SAP policy and return of funds policy. The SAP policy will explain how dropping one or all of your classes will affect your aid in the future. And the return of funds policy will explain how if you drop all of your classes, yourself out. If someone needs to be informed of how much aid you have used so far, the government is giving you this everything you've received, borrowed, or paid off the quarter on NSLDS. If you don't complete the quarter, you may need to prorate the amount of money that needs to be sent back. One full-time year is marked on the site, though, as 100%. So after in these situations, you'd see that after you used up all 600%. The registrar will calculate your charges. It does it that way, so it can calculate if anything needs to be returned, school, and you will be mailed and emailed loans are maxed out a letter with these amounts. 31,000 for dependent students. These will not be done until after you drop, and we may not be able to give you completely accurate estimates. The state need grant it's kind of a 5 years calculation, and we do not have. In most of these cases, students will owe a balance back to the school. The state government will provide that information. You cannot receive any new financial aid at any school until any owed to the government is repaid. Once graduation requirements are met, you will no longer be eligible some of your classes. We likely won't be adjusting your reapply to Central as a post-bac student, but it can greatly continue receiving your loans. These loan limits are in place until you start maintaining a master's degree based on your grade level, while receiving what percentage of classes aid as a graduate student based on the types of aid you higher loan limits. State aids can be lost. Be careful because if you do any additional undergraduate work, even if you don't do the withdrawal paperwork, if you receive scholarships, always an important topic. Scholarship season is about October. It's when they start getting posted through February when they become due. If you start early, you should have a couple months to work on them. It is a great goal to have it completed during winter break. Our General Scholarship application, also known as the GSA, is open from October through February, and it has over 100 scholarships just for CW students. That gives you 4 months to work on it. You can apply through your MyCWU, and it only takes about 15 minutes to submit your basic application. You'll just answer questions about you, and you get automatically considered for scholarships that don't require additional materials once you hit submit. At the end, it will also provide you with a list of scholarships you can apply for that do require essays or letters of recommendation. Those are optional, but you always have a better chance of winning a scholarship if it requires more work, because less people will apply. The College of Business also has their own scholarship application. If you belong to the College of Business, you'll want to fill out both. Their application will be sent to you in email and is available on their website and is open during similar times during the year. It does take a bit more work than the general scholarship application, so start on that one even earlier. The only automatic scholarships we have are merit awards for transfer students or freshmen. Transfer students, it's a 3.5 community college GPA or higher. If you missed out on that GPA but are a member of Phi Theta Kappa, you might still be eligible for it. For freshmen, if you are coming in as a running start student and you haven't done any new credits since graduating high school, you may be eligible for merit scholarships, and contact us or admissions if you have questions on it. We also recommend the washboard.org. It is a nonprofit Washington State scholarship site. It's matching you, so you set up an account with your interest in your here program and what school you're attending, and it will match you up with scholarships. The Outside Scholarship Board, we post to it all the time. This is a better it's sorted by due date scholarships, because and so you can see at the very top State. You can go and work your way down. Might be easier to find scholarships that you think you qualify any for. National-wide. On the side, it does. We do try and label if it is a last link on this page is the year-round scholarship site, where we post individual scholarships. If you're eligible, it will refer you to their website to complete the application. Textbooks. At CWU, you can only use your financial aid to cover textbooks if you buy them through us. The Wildcat Shop is in Ellensburg, but you can order them from the website and they will be shipped to your house. If you are going to be near Ellensburg, feel free to do a pickup order instead. Renting textbooks is a great new way to keep your costs down. You can do this on Amazon or from us in the Wildcat Shop, but either way, we cannot charge renting textbooks to your account. On their calendar, they note an order window. Be aware you can usually start ordering books as soon as about a month ahead of classes and until about noon on ad drop. If you want to order books on your own, you definitely can, but we cannot pay for any book order outside of us. Your refund is going to come after classes start, and your first quarter you can't wait for your refund and then order books on Amazon, because then you won't have your books until maybe the third week of classes or later. You'll need to plan accordingly or charge them to your account with us. In order for any student to have financial aid cover books, they must authorize us to pay the charges. You can complete a payment authorization form located on the student accounts website or in our offices, or it often pops up on your MyCWU as a yes or no around the time you get your first award letter. If you select yes, you do authorize. This will just mean that we can use financial aid to pay book charges, or if you were on the main campus, it would let us pay your parking or other things you could charge to your account. Westside students, it usually only applies to books. I recommend, even if you're not planning on buying books from the Wildcat Shop, that you still authorize if you're okay with it. Because that way, if you do find that a professor has a book that's only available in our bookstore, or that we might have a really good deal on it, that it's already set up. You can always change your mind. Feel free to see us if you need us to cancel this authorization. If you select yes online, you're good for the entire time you are at CWU, as well as if you submit the form on paper. Keep in mind the timing of your order. If you order a book after the ad drop, your refund could already be on the way and it may be too late to cover that charge. Again, double check your balance to make sure all your books got covered before using your refund. Visit wildcatshop.net and select textbooks. Here you can see the FAQ for rentals and regular orders. Make sure you review these so you know how it works. Also, read about shipping and returns just in case. A tip might be that you don't unwrap the cellophane from your textbook until you're sure you're going to take that class. Might make it easier to return just in case. Read their full policies in advance so you're not caught off guard, and let them know if you have any questions. This is the extent of our knowledge on shopping at the bookstore. They have a store calendar and you can see when charges open or close or when buyback is. Using your class schedule, create a book list. You can do it automatically by logging in, and it will download your schedule and give you your book list, or you can set it up manually. You select your campus, your term, and your department. We're all located under Central Washington University, so you don't have to worry there about which campus you're on. As soon as you get to this section, you'll see on our selected courses that there are different abbreviations for different campuses. The DO1 is for Des Moines, LO1 is for Linwood, and PO1 is for Pierce, and so on. A sections are online, and just regular O's is all Ellensburg. Make sure that you're not selecting the correct class, but with a different section. That instructor could be requiring a different book for Ellensburg campus. Then continue on to create a bookstore account. You'll choose financial aid at the end when it asks you how you want to pay, and then have them shipped. Another tip is to explore our website. Get to know it because there is so much information on it. Deadlines, policies, directions, links, basically everything we've covered today is somewhere on our website. It also has links to related sites like scholarships and student accounts. Every year we post the SAP policy to make sure you are familiar with it. It's located here on our website, so make sure you go through and read it. You can also find all of our forms, information on summer financial aid, and the award conditions I mentioned earlier. And below that, you can also see the return of funds policy. A quick note on summer. Summer financial aid is not incorporated into your regular award letter because it is an optional quarter. The costs for summer, as well as registration and an application for summer financial aid, are available here starting the very beginning of May. What student accounts want you to know? FYI, they are a separate department from us, and here's what they're all about. They can go over your charges and fees. They must have a release of information form, as do we, if we're going to share information with anyone but you. So if one of your parents or another loved one or just anybody you know is going to be asking if you have a balance, we have to have a release for them. Make sure you have that set up in case anyone needs to question your bill or anything else on your account. They are the ones that are sending out the bills. Let them know if you have questions. The registrar is the one who actually decides or assigns charges based on what you're enrolled in or what resident they consider you, but student accounts is the one that posts them. 1098T, if you have a social security number on file with us, we will either mail or post to your CWU your 1098T form for tax purposes. It usually shows the amount that you've paid the school this year, so it can be a deduction for you. Make sure you keep your address up to date on My CWU, just in case, and note that if you only receive grant money, you will not be receiving one. Consult your local tax professional for how to use the 1098T while completing your taxes. Other items that student accounts can help you out with: if you need a bill sent somewhere or a wire transfer or access to get funds, they can help you. They are also the only people that can remove past due balance holds. Here's the registrar's website. It has the tuition and fees chart for all students. It even has a great separate section for university centers. It also has the calendar for most of those dates that you need to keep track of each quarter. Here it is. The university academic calendar is available on the registrar's website. Here, they will post all of the deadlines or important dates they think that you need to know about. It's available every quarter in our office and online. Highlights include the add drop period, one of the most important dates of the quarter. When we charge you, you'll notice tuition and fees due in all capital letters on the same day as add drop. Make sure you have everything reviewed by this time so you know exactly what you're going to be charged and you're not adding classes late. This is the day also that your tuition and fees are due if you're paying a portion in addition to financial aid. Payment plan. This is the week where you can enroll in the payment plan via your CWU. Late fees. If you don't pay the portion that you're supposed to of your tuition, then these dates will have a late fee charged to your account as well. Note that you would need to pay the evening before to avoid these fees. This is the date the late fee is added to your account. It could be very early in the morning. Therefore, unless you paid the night before, you cannot guarantee you won't receive a late fee on this. Studentaid.gov. Studentaid.gov is a great website. Graduation deadlines are towards just the bottom. To pretty much everything else you need to know is on these calendar student loans. If you want to see what things would look like after graduation when you head into loan repayment, and we will occasionally post studentaid.gov like scholarships because it has a deadline information. You can either type in how much you would borrow in loans, studentloans.gov, or you can log in at any time and see what you've already borrowed. And of course, our website. Then you could. Westside Financial Aid has their own websites with specific information for their students. It is mostly contact information and availability, as well as an appointment request. We try to use specific dates, usually the second and fourth Thursday of each month. We travel to Pierce County or Everett, and we do not have appointments available on Fridays. Make an appointment if you have questions and you want to guarantee time with a counselor. In Ellensburg, you can access the drop-in service 5 days a week from 9 a.m. to 4. Westside centers tend to be open later till 6. Feel free to bring the list of questions that you made today so we can go over them during your appointment. If we are you can also request phone appointments if you are unable to get to campus or if we're located at different centers that day. Well, that is all. Please contact us if you have questions on this, and thank you for watching.